Hi, my name's Chris Rowland Thomas, and I have been in practice in London as a chartered accountant for 30 years. Your chosen accountant is a very important person in your tax and business affairs. I'm going to show you through a series of guides how to get the best advice and accountant possible for you and your business. We are going to delve into how to choose the best accountant for you. I have broken this down into a number of topics, so let's dive in and consider them one by one. This all leads us to you getting the right accountant, giving you the best advice. So, let's consider the first thing you have to do. That's choose one. Firstly, if you can find the right service locally, you might well be tempted to choose that one. It can often be cheaper and more efficient. But guess what? You don't really need a local guy. You may only visit your accountant once or twice a year, if at all, so it's not a big deal if you have to travel a bit to see them. If all your accountant does for you is your annual accounts, a lot goes on by email, phone and post, so don't worry if he isn't on the doorstep. Finding the right guy for the job is more important than geographical location. But what about remote services? Web-based accountants and some specialist departments of large firms are now offering remote services all over the UK, even within the Big Four. You never meet an accountant face-to-face, but you have access by email and phone for all queries. Books and records are sent by post or as computer files. Often they recommend a computer package, such as Xero, for you to use. A software package that links into their system has big advantages in getting your data to them. This process can work well for many clients, but you lose that face-to-face interaction which you get from a personal meeting. We see later how a meeting or a visit to your premises may get you that extra advice or save you money, but this is not likely to happen in the standard system where your affairs are sanitized, packaged up and put to bed. People also like to put a face to their advisor, if only at the start. We have more confidence after a face-to-face, which is especially relevant in something as important as financial affairs. Also, remember that the theme of this book is to get into that favored client position, and that is impossible with a remote one. You will by default get the standard professional coverage. Effectively, you do not have an accountant, you have a system presenting itself as your accountant. Let's consider recommendations. Traditionally, this has been regarded as the best way to choose an accountant. Up until about 25 years ago, word of mouth was virtually the only means by which accountants could stand on their reputation. It is still probably the most common method of getting an accountant in the regulated sector. Recommendations can come from virtually anyone. However, you are unlikely to ask a friend who has just gone bankrupt to recommend his accountant. Usually, people pick someone they know well or look up to for a recommendation. People feel that there is nothing quite like a personal recommendation for a good, positive start, far better than taking pot luck from the internet or the local paper. When you go as a recommendation, you are in an up-one position. Accountants do not want you to go back to your recommender and say, "That guy was awful," or "He dropped me right in it," so you are already in a superior position and feel comfortable that this person is going to work well for you. If you have gone on the recommendation of someone highly successful, you might think that person's success is due in part to having the right accountant. You are most likely to be wrong on that count, though. Your friend, acquaintance, would most likely have been successful whatever accountant he had chosen. So who to ask for that recommendation? Asking a professional, such as a lawyer, financial advisor, or bank manager, can seem like a good idea, but caution is needed as you may unknowingly be entering the murky waters of commissions and referrals. In other words, a world of non-objective recommendations. You would be surprised how often there are tie-ups and arrangements between professional firms. Commissions or favors can be exchanged for referrals without you knowing, or a system of cross-referrals operates. One firm may pass on clients and get others in return. Not all do this, but some certainly do. It's not all wrong, as many businesses work in this way. However, while it may be acceptable to hire a decorator or builder like this, your accountant is a serious, long-term relationship, so you don't really want to start with one through a backhander as opposed to a genuine recommendation.
Your best bet is probably the lawyer or solicitor. If he's not in anyone's pocket, he will probably say he can't recommend anyone, although he knows many. He may temper this and give you a list of, say, 3. That's a good sign. If you are given a list, great, pick the bottom one. What about trying the internet? New outfits are springing up where you can find a vouched-for professional. Accountants are encouraged to join the recommendation website and get charged a fee for referrals. The website tells the accountants who sign up to get reviews from clients and upload them to the site. Some accountants are getting them in the hundreds. The thing is, these are not really reviews. We understand reviews for films or books, indeed, and they are independent views of the product. These purported reviews are far from that. They're just mostly made-up promotional pieces. The website says they're checked, but all that involves is a confirmation from a different email address. It's funny how 99% of the reviews give the accountant 5 stars out of 5. Take it with a pinch of salt. The system is open to massive abuse. There can be a fees disadvantage. Your prospective accountant knows that when people come to him on a recommendation, there's a 95% certainty that he will secure them as a client. All he has to do is keep up appearances and not make himself look an idiot or create negative rapport at the first meeting. All he wants you to do is to want him to act for you so much that when he mentions his charges, you dismiss it as no problem. That is his only aim. Lack of competitiveness on fees can be the main problem with recommendations. When you go on a tip from someone, then usually this is known to the accountant, and he knows how to maximize his benefit from this recommendation. This gives the accountant the upper hand. One accountancy firm said to me that they had all the clients they want, so when a new client gets recommended, they quote very high. If they never hear from them again, they don't care, and if they become a client, the firm makes a handsome profit. It's a win either way for the firm, but not necessarily for that client. Let's try your mate Harry. Jack asks Harry who he uses as his accountant, and Harry says, "Mr. Smith is great. He has always done my accounts well. He got rid of my tax this year. He seems to know his stuff. He's a good guy." Wow, that's a fantastic recommendation. You go and see Harry's accountant, and he's very personable and knows his stuff, just as Harry said. You think, this guy's for me. I don't need to see anyone else. He will be great. But look more closely. The patter of well-meaning Harry is flawed. Let's look at his statements. He's great. This means nothing. Who has he got to compare him with? Monty Python? He has always done my accounts well. By what standard? Harry has no way of knowing. What is he comparing the work with? His own disastrous attempts? He got rid of my tax this year. That was because Harry made less profit than the year before, and his payments on account wiped out this year's tax. Nothing to do with the accountant's work. It's just the rules. Yet the accountant gets all the credit. He seems to know his stuff. The average client does not understand the technical bits, note the word seems, and so he appeared to be a genius. He's a good guy. I didn't get into trouble with the revenue, and my business still seems to be afloat, therefore he must be good. On analysis, the whole basis for the recommendation is flawed. However, 2 things actually flow from a recommendation. 1, Harry has not had problems with the work done. 2, a recommendation has a safe ring to it. You are not starting from 0, you're already on the bottom rung of the ladder. The lack of any known error speaks for itself, and the recommendation has a slight tone of guarantee. The fact that the firm appears flawless and is recommended sets a standard that most will want to maintain. Recommendations are still the best way if approached with some caution and objective judgment. Another reason recommendations are beneficial is the family effect. If an accountant has built up his clientele through the recommendations of friends and family, many will know each other. Bad work will be talked about and judgments made, so there's an inbuilt incentive for the accountant to do a good job.
Well, let's consider the simple choice of bank or friend. Do you trust the banks? Despite bankers' backlash, many still respect the advice of their local manager, if you can still find one or get past security. Let's look at Mr. and Mrs. Fryer. They run a small but growing catering business.
Mrs. Fryer used to work for an insurance company and for the first 2 years had done their own accounts and tax. It was getting too complicated now, so they need an accountant. They had lined up two from recommendations. There was Nigel, their local butcher. He said he has used Clot & Co. for years. And Fred Goodman, their local bank manager, has said Mason, Stone & Partners were particularly good. The Fryers tended to favor the bank manager's guy, as Nigel had just been a butcher for years, and Mr. Goodman, the bank manager, was, after all, a person of authority. They went to see Mr. Clot. He was a bit shabby, sitting at his desk in what seemed quite a busy office. There were lots of boxes and papers. He was very nice, though, asked all sorts of things about the business and even their family, home, and mortgage. He said fees would be in the region of £1,000 for the year, a bit more than they were expecting. They were looking forward to meeting the partner from the other firm tomorrow to compare. So Mr. and Mrs. Fryer go and see Mr. Hartlett Brown of Mason, Stone & Partners. They are greeted with a nice reception. Those fresh flowers are lovely. And then the well-groomed and charming Mr. Hartlett Brown ushers them into a boardroom with fresh coffee and biscuits brought in by a very efficient-looking assistant. This is so much better than that other place. This must mean they are better accountants, the Fryers think. Mr. Hartlett Brown says his firm has been established for many years and has experts in all departments, so can deal with any issues. He does not ask too much, not like Mr. Clot, who seemed a bit too searching in his questions. Mr. Hartlett Brown says his charges are based on the time it takes. Well, what could be fairer than that, the Fryers think. We want this guy. He doesn't need to know much about us because he knows what to do. That's it. Logic has gone, beliefs will be reinforced, prejudices bolstered. My side bias has kicked in. They think, of course, the bank manager knew the best. Mr. Hartlett Brown says we should be starting straight away, so they accept his advice and confirm on the spot that they would like Mason, Stone & Partners to act for them. Mr. and Mrs. Fryer have been sold and effectively stitched up without even an estimate of price. Mr. Hartlett Brown phones up Mr. Goodman and thanks him for the recommendation. He then calls up his wine company and orders a case of champagne to be delivered to Mr. Goodman. Mr. Goodman and his wife enjoy the wine and make a mental note to send more clients to Hartlett Brown. Has that recommendation worked for Mr. and Mrs. Fryer? They believe they are signing up the firm that is the tops. They instinctively know that they will be paying more, but they feel they're getting the best, a proper job, so it's worth it. But are they? Mr. Clot's advice might have developed into the favored type in the example coming up in the next couple of pages, leading to thousands of pounds of savings. So would not Mr. Clot, who wanted to know all about them and gave a fixed price, been a better choice? And so maybe given more edgy tax-saving advice at a better price? They will never know. They will more than likely stay with Mason, Stone & Partners for many years, knowing no difference. The firm will give them the standard professional coverage year after year, and that will be fine. If no mistakes rear their head, the Fryers will be satisfied, feeling they are getting the best. However, if a mistake comes to light, they might get disillusioned. I once took over a client from a London city firm which had told the client that the sale of goodwill was taxable, even though they had not received the money. The client queried it, and the accountant took specialist advice, which confirmed what they had said, then charged the client extra. When the accountant did the accounts, he forgot to implement his own costly advice, and the client paid the wrong tax. The client was suddenly disillusioned with all his work. Is conflicting advice going to fool me? Some might feel justifiably that the advice should be the same whichever accountant they choose. Why should our Mr. Clot's advice be any different from Mr. Hartlett Brown's? It's either right or wrong, surely. If only it was that simple. Some tax stuff is simple and right or wrong, but you do not have to stray too far away from the straightforward to enter a gray area where tax advice may differ from one advisor to another. When you come across a commercial situation infused with tax issues and serious financial implications, a slight difference in direction on the advice front can make a major difference to the end-of-year outcome, actually moving from in your favor to against it. In tricky situations, the accountant's natural cautiousness can rear its head, and that will come first, since no comeback is ever wanted. Standard professional coverage comes to his rescue. The alternative, more risky move that could have saved you thousands will be dismissed. It is at these decisive points when your advice given can have vital implications, and when your original choice of firm, hand in hand with your partner relationship, will pay dividends, literally perhaps, or not. If you are following tips in this book to establish yourself as that favored client as opposed to getting the indifferent standard professional coverage, you might just come across situations where a huge difference could be made. To illustrate this, let's consider the following real-life example. Let's say we have a small business, say a children's book publisher, with about 10 staff working for it. There will be writers, illustrators, designers, and editors. Historically, they have been self-employed, and the owner has paid them for the days they work, not the same amounts each month, but certainly on a regular basis. One senior editor is self-employed but has a company car. The owner knows other businesses similar to his where everybody is on the payroll. The owner raises the situation with his accountant. "I'm worried about HMRC finding out. What should I be doing?" he asks.
Consider the standard professional coverage advice. This is a term I explain more of later. In a larger or medium firm, such a query would tend to be dealt with by a manager, not a partner, and possibly someone who the owner has not had a lot of contact with. Some firms might say, "You need to speak to our PAYE specialist." The largish firm's employee will be very careful about giving advice that might be called into question and will err on the side of caution. He will tend to give the safe textbook answer. That answer is not good news for the owner. His advice could be that the owner will be in breach of the PAYE rules and he must put all the staff on the payroll immediately. The extra cost of this would be about 12% on national insurance and an extra 10% that he would have to pay the employees to cover the effect of lowering their take-home pay. This is a dismal situation, as the owner will be faced with an increase of 22% in his wages bill. What about the favored client advice? Another term I explain later. If your firm is one with whom you have built a relationship, maybe a small practice or a particular partner you know well, you should address this query to that person, the partner who knows you. He will have more insight into your position, being a small business owner himself rather than an employee, and he should tend to be sympathetic. He will immediately understand the situation you are faced with. If he's experienced, he will be on the lookout for solutions for you from the minute you start to explain the problem. Because the 22% hike might actually cripple the business altogether, the partner should look for a way you can carry on but stay inside the regulations. While the other firm's recommendations will be cut and dried, your favored partner should be more flexible. He might suggest making a few changes so that if you were challenged, you had an argument to put forward to refute the taxman's claim. It may not be 100% certain, but if you get these changes in place, your business may carry on rather than nosedive into losses. This is the advice a small business needs. So the partner might say, first, you can't give self-employed staff a car. That is out of the question, so sell it to them. Second, you need to follow the rules on the HMRC website for self-employed versus employed people. In the IR35 section, put that in the search engine, you will find a point scoring system for self-employment. Get those staff on contracts that can qualify on the points. If they cannot qualify, then they will have to go on PAYE, but make a few changes to try and get them all to qualify. In other words, adapt and change to fit the taxman's self-employed profile. This way, the arrangement could continue for many years, so your small firm's advice may have saved you 22% on your annual £100,000 wage bill. That is £22,000 per year. Your other firm, meeting out the standard professional coverage, would have cost you $22,000 extra per year, and no doubt higher fees as well. Just beware of the experts. Some firms will claim to be specialists in particular areas. There is a saying in accountancy, 2 clients in the same business and you are a specialist, 3 and you are an expert. When I started up, my first client was an old flatmate, a photographer. A few months later, his friend, another photographer, came over to me. By then, I was a specialist in their eyes.
Not long after, I got another colleague of theirs. There was no particular expertise needed for photographers' accounts, but they thought I had some expert knowledge that they needed. There are only a few professions where specialist accountants are useful. These can include doctors, entertainers, and charities, to cite some. Certain firms do home in on specialist markets. I have come across accountancy firms the majority of whose clientele are one trade, say dentists or taxi drivers. They will have a tried and tested formula for dealing with that particular trade. This can work to your advantage. The main thing to watch out for is price. If it seems reasonable, then you could be better off with a specialist. In the entertainment world, specialist entertainment accountants can carry out services for the type of clients of which other accountants have little experience. Many entertainers want nothing to do with the money side, do not want to write checks or open any letters that contain a bill. A provincial, high-street type accountant might find this strange, whereas the specialist accountant greets this with open arms. He'll have his system of dealing with it and can charge handsomely for it. Provided he keeps his client away from all money and manages his client's expectations, he is on to a winner. There are cases where this has backfired, but generally, using a regulated accountancy firm to control their money is a safe bet for such clients, and far better than handing all over to an unqualified, unregulated music business manager. So, have we found the firm? If you want to get the right firm and the right accountant, then do not leave it till the last minute to appoint one. That will limit your choice and pressurize you into accepting basically the first through the door. This is an important appointment, so go and see them before your tax or company affairs are so urgent that you need the work doing yesterday. So, you are now armed to make the decision on who to choose. You are giving it the time it deserves. You have sized up the various firms, sought some recommendations, looked at their websites. Now you need to go and see 3. If possible, get 3 recommendations. Keep an open mind till you have seen them all. Ask similar questions and observe. Your work of building your good accountant has just started.